The church bells rang, and the crowd hushed as the doors opened. From where I stood outside, peeking through the small gap of the doorway, I saw my daughter Hannah take her first step down the aisle. She looked beautiful in her white dress, glowing, every eye fixed on her. She was walking toward her future, toward her groom, and yet, her mother wasn't there to see it. Not properly. Not as she should have been. I wasn't inside. I wasn't on the front row where a mother belonged. I was outside the doors, listening to muffled music and whispers of people who glanced my way with pity. Some shook their heads, some avoided looking at me at all. The truth cut deeper than any of their stares. I wasn't here as a guest. I wasn't welcome. My own daughter had banned me from her wedding. I pressed my hand to the wood of the door as if it could carry me closer to her, as if I could still be part of this moment. I wanted to cheer, to cry, to remember her as the little girl I raised, who once clung to my leg at school drop-offs and said she'd never love anyone more than she loved me. And yet here she was, walking past pews full of strangers and family members, but not her mother. People whispered as I lingered outside. I caught bits of it. Her own mother? Something must have happened. Shameful. Every word was a stone to my chest. I wanted to scream that I had loved her more than anyone, that I had given up everything to raise her alone, that I had worked nights and mornings just to make sure she had shoes on her feet and food in her belly. But none of that mattered now. In her eyes, in the eyes of her new world, I was an embarrassment. I stood there in silence, tears slipping down my face as the music swelled and the vows began. My heart twisted at the thought that Hannah would say, "I do," without even glancing toward the doorway, without wondering if I was out here praying for her happiness. I had never felt so small, so invisible. When the doors finally closed and the church grew quiet, I stayed there a little longer, unable to move. It felt like the end of something, like I had lost my daughter forever. But I was wrong. Less than 24 hours later, there was a knock at my door. And when I opened it, it wasn't Hannah. It was her groom. When Hannah was born, I was 22 and scared out of my mind. Her father, Mark, promised me the world when we first met, but promises are easy when life is light and fun. The moment responsibility came, he was gone. Hannah was barely a year old when he walked out. He said he wasn't ready to be a father, that he wanted a life where he didn't have to answer to anyone. I begged him to stay, not for me but for her. But he never looked back. From then on, it was just me and my little girl against the world. Raising Hannah alone was hard, harder than I can ever put into words. I worked at a diner during the day and cleaned offices at night. Some weeks I barely slept. I remember sitting on the edge of my bed with blistered feet, wondering how I'd make it through another week. But then I'd hear her soft breathing from her crib, or later, her little voice asking me to read her a story, and I knew why I had to keep going. She was my reason. There were times I couldn't afford new clothes, so I patched up old ones. There were nights when my dinner was just a piece of bread, so she could have enough milk. I missed school plays because I was working late, and when I finally showed up at the tail end, her smile told me she forgave me. She always seemed to understand in her own way, even as a child, that everything I did was for her. Those years bonded us so closely that I believed nothing could ever come between us. Hannah grew up smart and determined. She excelled in school, always aiming for more than what life had given us. I was proud, so proud that sometimes I cried quietly when I saw her grades or heard her teachers praise her. She said she wanted to build a life where she would never struggle the way I did. And I wanted that for her too. Every sacrifice I made was so she could rise higher, live better. By the time she was in college, Hannah had grown into a confident, ambitious young woman. That was when she met David. He was charming, well-spoken, and came from a family with more money than I could ever dream of. At first, I was just happy that she was happy. She'd call me, glowing about how kind he was, how he wanted the best for her. When I met him, I tried to smile and be warm, though I could already sense the difference between his world and mine. His family made that difference clear. His mother was elegant in a way that made me feel like a child wearing borrowed clothes. His father's handshake was polite, but his eyes swept over me with quiet judgment. I remember once, at a dinner, his mother complimented Hannah's beauty and intelligence, then turned to me and said with a smile that wasn't really a smile, "She must get it from somewhere other than circumstances." Everyone chuckled lightly except me. I sat there, my cheeks burning, pretending it didn't sting. I could tell Hannah noticed. She laughed nervously, tried to brush it off, but after that, something shifted. Slowly, little by little, she began to distance herself. She stopped sharing as much with me. Phone calls got shorter. She visited less. When I did see her, she seemed restless, as if my small apartment with its mismatched furniture embarrassed her. She started saying things like, "Mom, you don't understand how things work in their world," or, "You have to be more careful about what you say." It hurt, but I swallowed the pain. I thought maybe it was just a phase, maybe she was trying to fit in. But sometimes her words cut deeper. Once, when I showed up to a gathering in my best dress, one I had worn proudly for years, she pulled me aside and whispered, "Mom, maybe you should wear something a little different next time. People notice these things." That was the first time I felt a crack between us. It wasn't about the dress. It was about how she saw me now. I wasn't her mother who had carried her through storms. I was someone she needed to polish, to hide, to adjust so that she could shine brighter in front of them. I told myself she was under pressure, that David's family was influencing her. But deep down, I feared something I didn't want to admit, that my own daughter was ashamed of me. And yet, no matter how cold she became, I couldn't stop loving her. I reminded her, again and again, that I'd be there no matter what. But with every step she took closer to David's world, she seemed to take a step farther away from me. That's when I began to realize I was losing her, not to distance or time, but to pride and the heavy hands of people who thought I wasn't good enough. And the closer the wedding came, the sharper those cracks grew. The weeks leading up to the wedding were filled with tension I could almost touch in the air. Hannah was busier than ever, dress fittings, rehearsals, dinners with David's family. I wanted so badly to be part of it all, to help her the way a mother helps her daughter before the biggest day of her life. But each time I offered, she brushed me off. "Mom, it's fine, David's family already arranged everything," she would say, her voice quick, almost impatient. I tried not to let it hurt. I told myself she was stressed. But deep down, I felt it. She was pulling me further away. One afternoon, I stopped by her apartment with a box of old family photos. I thought maybe she would want to use one of the baby pictures for a slideshow or to keep close on her wedding day. I placed the box on her table, excited to show her the picture of her in pigtails, holding the birthday cake I had baked even though we could barely afford sugar that year. But Hannah barely glanced at the box. Instead, she looked at me with tired eyes. "Mom, we need to talk." Something in her tone made my stomach twist. She took a deep breath. "I don't think it's a good idea for you to come to the wedding." At first, I thought I had misheard. I laughed nervously. "What do you mean, Hannah? Of course I'll be there. I'm your mother." She shook her head, her voice firmer this time. "Mom, please don't make this harder. I've thought about it a lot. It's better if you don't come." The room spun. Better. My throat tightened as I tried to understand. How could it ever be better for me not to be there when my only daughter gets married? Hannah sighed, folding her arms as if bracing herself. "You don't understand, Mom. David's family, they notice everything. The way you talk, the way you dress. It makes things uncomfortable. I don't want them whispering or judging. This wedding is supposed to be perfect." Her words cut through me sharper than a knife. I stared at her, my chest aching. "So I embarrass you? Is that what you're saying?" She looked away. "It's not like that. You just don't fit in with them. And if you come, people will talk. I need everyone to focus on me and David, not on whether my mom knows which fork to use at dinner." I felt my heart break in that moment. All the nights I stayed awake working double shifts. All the times I skipped meals so she could eat. All the years I raised her alone. I had never imagined the day would come when my daughter would be ashamed of me. "Hannah," I whispered, tears burning my eyes. "I'm not perfect. I know that. But I'm your mother. I've been with you through everything. I held you when you cried. I sacrificed everything for you. And now, on the most important day of your life, you don't want me there? Can't you see how much that hurts?" Her jaw trembled, and for a second I thought she might soften. But then her face hardened. "Mom, this is my decision. I need you to respect it." I reached for her hand, but she pulled it away. "Please, Hannah, don't do this to me. Don't shut me out of your life like this." She shook her head. "If you love me, you'll let me have the wedding I want. That means not coming." The word struck like a final blow. I stood there, numb, as she turned her back to me. I wanted to scream, to shake her, to remind her of everything we had been through. But all I could do was stand frozen, tears sliding down my face. For Hannah, the wedding had become a stage for perfection, for appearances. For me, it was a symbol of everything I had lost. That night, as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, I realized the truth. This wasn't just about a wedding. This was about pride. About a daughter who no longer saw her mother as a part of the life she was building. And I knew then that my love for her would be tested in a way I never imagined. Because even though the days after Hannah told me I couldn't come to her wedding felt like moving through heavy fog. Everything around me continued as normal. Neighbors watering their plants, children riding bikes on the street, cars passing by. But inside, I felt hollow. Each morning, I woke up with a tightness in my chest, remembering her words over and over. "You don't fit in with them. It's better if you don't come." I wanted to tell myself she didn't mean it, that stress was making her say cruel things. But the truth was written in her eyes that day, firm, unbending, distant. She had made her choice. At night, I found myself remembering pieces of her childhood, as if my mind was trying to comfort me. I'd see her as a toddler, running into my arms after falling off her bike, whispering, "You're the best, Mom." I remembered the way she used to sleep beside me when thunderstorms frightened her, holding my hand tightly until she drifted off. Once, she even told me she wanted to be, just like me when she grew up. Those memories felt like a cruel contrast to the woman she had become now, someone who saw me as a stain on her new life. One afternoon, while walking home from the grocery store, I overheard two women chatting outside the bakery. They were talking about Hannah's fiancé, David. "I don't know how she doesn't see it," one said in a hushed tone. "David may look perfect, but I've heard things from people at his work." The other woman leaned closer. "What things?" "They say he's gotten into some trouble with money, that he invests in risky things and hides it. And someone mentioned he has a temper. He can be charming, but behind closed doors." Their voices faded as they moved down the sidewalk, but the words stuck in my head like nails. At first, I didn't want to believe it. I thought maybe it was gossip, jealous people trying to tear down a successful man, but something inside me wouldn't let it go. I had seen flashes of sharpness in David before. The way his smile would vanish if he didn't like what someone said, the way Hannah's shoulders sometimes tensed around him, as if she was trying not to upset him. That evening, I called Hannah. She answered quickly, sounding rushed. "Mom, what is it?" "I'm busy." "Hannah," I said carefully, "I heard something today about David. People are saying he might not be as honest as he seems, that he might be hiding things about his money. And they say he has a temper. Please, sweetheart, just be careful." There was silence on the line, and then a sharp laugh. "Mom, seriously? You're listening to small-town gossip now? Do you know how ridiculous you sound?" "I'm only worried about you," I said softly. "I don't want you to get hurt." Her voice grew colder. "No, you don't want me to be happy unless it's on your terms. That's what this is really about, isn't it? You can't handle that I'm marrying someone who doesn't come from your world." Tears stung my eyes. "That's not true. Mom," she cut me off. "Stop. If you keep interfering, you'll never see me again. Do you hear me? Never." The finality in her tone stole my breath. I wanted to argue, to beg her to just listen, but the line went dead. She had hung up. I sat in the quiet of my kitchen, the phone still pressed to my ear, my groceries forgotten on the counter. The threat echoed inside me. "You'll never see me again." That night, I pulled out the photo albums I had once hoped to share with her before the wedding. I looked through page after page. Hannah in her kindergarten dress, her smile bright with missing teeth. Hannah holding her first trophy from the school spelling bee. Hannah waving from the stage at her high school graduation, her eyes scanning the crowd until they found mine. Every photo screamed of a bond we once had, a bond one thought nothing could break. But it was breaking now. Piece by piece, under the weight of pride, wealth, and the pressure of a family that looked down on me. In the following days, I tried to reach out gently, sending her small texts. "I love you. I'm here if you need me." She rarely replied, and when she did, her words were short, clipped, almost like she was speaking to a stranger. The wedding grew closer. The town buzzed with excitement about the event, how grand it would be, how beautiful Hannah would look, how David's family was sparing no expense. Every mention felt like a knife to my chest. My daughter was preparing for a fairy tale, and I was the shadow cast outside its gates. Still, I couldn't silence the worries in my mind. I noticed how David always seemed to control the narrative, how Hannah's smile around him didn't quite reach her eyes the way it used to. But whenever I tried to bring it up, she shut me down harder. One evening, I gathered all my courage and went to see her in person. I knocked on her door, holding a small gift I had bought, something simple, a silver bracelet with her initials engraved. When she opened the door, her face fell instantly. "Mom, I told you not to come here without calling. I just wanted to give you this," I said, my voice trembling, "for your wedding day." She didn't take it. "I don't need it. I already have everything I need. David and his family made sure of that." "Hannah, please," I whispered. "Don't push me away. I only want to protect you." Her eyes hardened. "Protect me? From what? From happiness? You've done enough. If you really love me, stay out of my way. Otherwise," her voice dropped, cold and sharp. "Otherwise, I meant what I said. You'll never see me again." I stood frozen in her doorway, clutching the bracelet in my palm until it hurt. She closed the door without another word. As I walked back home, the night air heavy around me, I felt more crushed than ever before. My daughter wasn't just shutting me out of her wedding, she was shutting me out of her life. And yet, no matter how deeply she wounded me, no matter how harsh her words were, my love for her refused to fade. I was broken, but I was still her mother. And even as I stepped back, as she demanded, a part of me prayed she would one day realize. I didn't know it then, but the storm was only beginning. The morning of the wedding came, and I woke up with a heavy heart. I knew I wasn't invited, yet every sound outside reminded me of what I was missing. Cars drove past, decorated with ribbons. Neighbors spoke excitedly about Hannah's big day. I sat by my window, staring at the dress I had planned to wear, simple, navy blue, the best one I owned. It hung on the closet door like a ghost, reminding me that I had been erased from my daughter's story. I imagined her walking down the aisle, her veil trailing behind her, the church filled with music. I pictured David waiting at the altar, smiling that perfect smile he always carried in public. And I imagined Hannah glowing, everyone cheering as she said, "I do." But in my imagination, I also saw her eyes searching the room, looking for me, wishing I was there. Whether she did or not, I would never know. As night fell, I sat quietly in my kitchen, sipping tea that had gone cold. Then the phone began to buzz. First one call, then another. Neighbors whispering, "Did you hear? Something happened at the wedding." My heart jumped. I didn't know if I should answer, but curiosity and fear won. One woman's voice came through, shaky with excitement. "Elaine, I don't know all the details, but something went wrong. They said Hannah ran out crying after a fight with David. Some say it was about another woman. Others say it was about money. I just know people left in shock." My hands trembled as I set the phone down. My worst fears were coming true. I had tried to warn Hannah, but she had shut me out. And now, on the night of her wedding, chaos had replaced celebration. I didn't sleep at all. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, waiting for a knock at the door, a call, anything. But nothing came. Just silence, the kind that makes the air heavy. It was early morning, the sun barely rising, when I finally heard it. A knock. Slow, hesitant. My heart leapt. For a second, I thought it was Hannah. I rushed to the door, my hands shaking as I turned the knob. But it wasn't her. David stood there, still in his wrinkled suit from the night before, his tie loose, his hair messy. His face was streaked with tears, his eyes swollen from crying. He looked nothing like the polished, perfect man everyone admired. He looked broken. "Elaine," he whispered, his voice cracking. I didn't know where else to go. I froze, unsure if I should slam the door or let him in. This was the man who had taken my daughter away from me, the man she had chosen over her own mother. Yet here he was, trembling on my porch like a child lost in the dark. "What happened?" I asked carefully. He covered his face with his hands, his body shaking. "She's gone. Hannah's gone." My breath caught. "Gone? What do you mean gone?" He lowered his hands, his voice breaking. "She left me. After the wedding, after everyone left, she confronted me. She found out." "Found out what?" My voice was sharper than I intended. He swallowed hard. "About the money. I made mistakes, stupid mistakes. I tried to cover them up, but someone told her. She saw the documents, the lies I kept hidden. She said she couldn't believe I lied to her, not on the day we promised forever. And then," his voice cracked again, "she asked me if there was anything else I was hiding. And when she saw the messages on my phone about another woman, she left. She packed a bag and left. I don't know where she went." I felt like the floor had dropped beneath me. All the whispers, the warnings, the fears I had carried, they were true. And Hannah had walked right into the storm, blind to it, refusing to hear me. Now she was out there, hurt and alone, and I had no idea where she had gone. David sank onto the steps of my porch, burying his face in his hand. "Elaine, please, if she comes here, tell her I'm sorry. Tell her I didn't mean to lose her." His shoulders shook as he sobbed. I stood there, torn between fury and pity. Fury for the way he had deceived her, pity for the broken man in front of me. But above all, a mother's fear filled my heart. My daughter was missing. She had walked away from the mess of a marriage that had barely begun, and she hadn't turned to me. Not yet. As David cried on my porch, I realized something with painful clarity. I had lost my place at her wedding, but maybe this was not the end of our story. Maybe my daughter still needed me, not as a guest in her perfect world, but as her mother, the one person who had never left her side no matter how far she pushed me away. And so, while David wept in front of me, I knew my next step. I had to find Hannah. After David left my porch that morning, I sat for a long time in silence. His words echoed in my mind, "She's gone. I don't know where she went." Fear clawed at my chest. Hannah was out there, heartbroken, betrayed, and alone. Part of me wanted to wait for her to call, to come home, to knock on my door the way she used to after a fight in her teenage years. But another part of me knew I couldn't sit still. She was my daughter. No matter how far she had pushed me away, no matter how deep the wounds between us, I had to go to her. I started with the places she used to go when she needed space. The park where she used to feed ducks as a child. The small coffee shop we loved, where she studied during college. Each place I checked, I half expected to see her sitting there, but she wasn't. Hours passed, my hope flickering each time I moved to the next spot. Finally, I drove toward the edge of town, to the little motel near the bus station. Something inside told me she might go there. It was far enough from home, but still familiar. My heart pounded as I walked down the row of doors, looking for her. And then I saw her. Hannah sat on the curb, still in her wedding dress, though it was wrinkled and stained now. Her makeup was smudged, her eyes red from crying. She looked so small, so lost, that for a moment I just stood there, frozen, my throat tight. This was my daughter, the same girl I once carried on my hip, the same girl who used to believe I was her safe place. "Hannah," I whispered. Her head snapped up. When she saw me, her lips trembled. For a moment, I thought she would turn away. But instead, tears spilled down her cheeks, and she whispered back, "Mom." I hurried to her, kneeling beside her, not caring that my knees hit the rough pavement. I reached for her hand, and this time she didn't pull away. She clung to me, her body shaking. "I messed up," she cried into my shoulder. "I thought I knew everything. I thought marrying him would make me somebody. I thought if I kept him, if I kept his family happy, then I'd finally belong somewhere bigger than just us. But I was wrong. I was blind, Mom, and I hurt you so badly." Hearing her say it broke something in me, but it also mended something too. I stroked her hair like I used to when she was a child. "Sweetheart, you don't have to be somebody for anyone else. You've always been enough. You didn't need to chase their approval, and you never needed to be ashamed of me." She pulled back, her eyes swollen and wet. "I was so cruel to you. I said things I can never take back. I told you not to come. I told you you embarrassed me. And the truth is, I was the one embarrassing myself, trying to live up to people who never cared about me the way you did." I held her face in my hands. "Hannah, you hurt me deeply, yes. But I'll never stop being your mother. I'll never stop loving you. You can come back from this. We can come back from this. But you need to understand something. Love doesn't mean you get to throw me away when it's convenient. I won't let you treat me like I don't matter anymore. If we're going to heal, you have to respect me. You have to remember who was there for you when no one else was." Her lips quivered as she nodded. "I know. I see it now. I was blinded by pride. I thought money and status would fill the hole in me, but it only made me lose the most important person in my life. I don't deserve your forgiveness." "You don't earn forgiveness," I whispered. "It's given. And I give it because you're my daughter. But you will have to work to rebuild trust. That's how love grows again, through respect." For a long while, we sat there together, mother and daughter, broken yet beginning to heal. She leaned against me, and I wrapped my arm around her the way I used to when she was a little girl. The road ahead would not be simple. There would be more pain to sift through, more tears to shed. But as the sun rose higher in the sky, warming our shoulders, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: hope. Hannah was no longer lost. She had found her way back, not to perfection, not to status, but to the one place that had always been hers, my arm. I never saw Hannah walk down the aisle. I never heard the vows she had written, or watched her slip the ring onto David's finger. Those moments were taken from me, and for a while, I thought that loss would crush me forever. A mother dreams of her child's wedding day, and mine had ended with me standing outside, listening to whispers that cut through my heart. But as I sat with Hannah in that quiet motel parking lot, her head leaning against my shoulder, I realized something more important. The wedding might have been ruined, but something else had been born in its place. Something raw, painful, but true. For the first time in a long time, my daughter wasn't hiding behind polished words or someone else's approval. She was simply Hannah again, my Hannah, the girl who used to trust me with her fears and secrets. We didn't fix everything that day. Healing takes time. But we found the first step: honesty. She looked at me not with shame or pride, but with the eyes of a daughter who knew she had gone astray and wanted to come home. And I looked at her not as a woman who betrayed me, but as the child I had loved since the moment I first held her. Life has a way of tearing us apart, of making us forget what matters most. But love, real love, has a way of calling us back, even when we are bruised and broken. I may not have been there for her vows, but I was there when her world collapsed. And I will be there as she builds herself back up. The wedding was destroyed, but maybe, just maybe, it was the beginning of something better. Honesty between us, and a love that could not be bought, broken, or taken away. Hey besties, thanks so much for watching till the end. Elaine was banned from her daughter's wedding, but when the groom showed up crying the next day, secrets unraveled and Hannah realized her mistake. In losing the wedding, they found something deeper: truth and trust. If you love this story, don't forget to like,